morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's my job, obviously, to introduce the Honourable Premier, the Honourable Orlando Smith. There's no doubt that BVI has been through some very troubling waters for the past several years or so. But true to Premier's form, as both a sailor and a sergeant, he's been at the helm charting BVI's course through these turbulent waters. He's been navigating the waters and expertly cutting his way through the difficult times. Almost every Monday morning, myself, along with Lorna and FS, Neil, Mr. Matthevius, the head of the Regulatory Commission, and some others from the Commission and within government, sit around the Premier's conference table as part of his advisory grouping on the financial services issues. I say that to say that we have a Premier that rolls up his sleeves and leads. He's been doing so throughout his entire political career, and I think no time more demonstrable than now, while BVI are facing a number of issues within the financial services space. Against the global tide of changes, economic uncertainty, and ever-changing environment, he has been fully engaged. He's led from the front on the domestic level, as well as especially among his overseas territories, colleagues, as we've engaged the UK on a number of issues related to transparency, beneficial ownership, etc. Premier is truly the type of leader that ensures that whatever falls within his portfolios, he masterfully puts his hands on it. I think that I am very, very pleased, ladies and gentlemen, to let you hear directly from him as he addresses what I consider to be a very esteemed grouping of our international partners. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the Honourable Orlando Smith.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank PS, Mr. Broderick-Penn, for that introduction. I was listening one it was me he was speaking about, but he showed me it was. Before I begin my remarks, I want to welcome you all here today. This is my 5th visit to Hong Kong, and between 2004 and when I first visited and now, our relationship has reached a new dimension. I'd like to especially commend Russell Harrigan for bringing together the Hong Kong Business Committee in this fashion to facilitate discussion of critical developments in the BVI of relevance to industry here. Each time I come, I'm reminded of the camaraderie that exists between many of you and those of us at the BVI and the friends we've made here over the years. That these relationships have translated into successful commercial alliances, both here and in the BVI, is a testament to the strength of our partnership. Over this time, the BVI has become the international partner of choice for China, rooted in over 30 years of partnership and an unwavering commitment on the part of us who represent BVI, our government, our service providers. It is our expectation and intention to continue this collaboration into the future as we move forward together. You see, it is my firm belief that the future, our future, the growth of our economies depend on continued globalization of trade and opening of markets around the world. As I stand before you, however, the world is changing, and in many sectors, nations are seemingly shunning the concept of globalization. In fact, we seem to be at the crossroads of protectionism. At the G20 summit held last month in Hangzhou, the G20 leaders, representing 85% of global GDP, agreed to reject protectionism and promote global trade. The summit came on the heels of the historic move by Britain to exit the European Union. It appeared then that the world's leaders wanted to send a strong message that Brexit, or Britain retracting into itself, should not become a global trend for countries or be a precursor to major economies instituting protectionist policies. Today, the world watches nervously for the outcome of next month's US elections. Both presidential candidates on some level, have touted some form of protectionism, whether it is regarding the US-China trade deficit or the real impact of the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. Closer to home, we have seen an incessant attack on territories like mine, which provide the necessary structures, efficient processes, and legal environment to effectively facilitate and enable global trade. And yet we refrain and clarion calls for many nations and organizations to remove this value that offshore centers provide to the global economy. China President Xi Jinping said the leaders in Hangzhou agreed to improve the G20 trade and investment mechanism, endorse the G20 strategy for global trade growth, and move toward inclusive and coordinated global value chains. US President Barack Obama said, "We need to ensure that the world economy is working for everybody." Global economists accept that over the last quarter century, China has lifted itself out of poverty, and in turn Asia has become the world's largest regional economic powerhouse. For most accounts, globalization and global trade have worked well for our world. Yet we must ask, why in 2016 are we standing at the crossroads of protectionism? What will the future look like? Why are we trying to close the channels that have worked so well for us? Let me explain some reasons why globalization has worked for our world. Globalization has been by far the greatest driver of human progress ever unleashed. Over the past decades, billions of human beings in every corner of the planet, including in our Caribbean region in the BVI, have been lifted from grinding poverty and given opportunities that previous generations could only have dreamed of. Thanks to this movement, the blessings of infrastructure, healthcare, education, and a high quality of life are no longer the special privilege of those lucky few born in the developed and wealthy nations. Today, those basic needs are being met for more people in more places than at any time in history, and it all thanks to our interconnectedness. Over the past 20 years, regulatory standards have improved and become globalized as standard setters such as the OECD and the FATF have worked to make international financial centers operate at a level and transparent playing field. For banks and anti-money laundering, and know your customer regulatory hurdles to be met. For banks and anti-money laundering and know your customer KYC regulations have become essential to doing business. Financial clients now have a level of confidence and comfort in their institutions that was unknown not long ago. To do business in the global arena, you must be top quality and comply with the highest regulatory standards. I'd hasten to add that BVI does in fact comply with these global standards and has been doing so for many years. The fact that today global capital that sits in New York and London and Tokyo and Frankfurt, Dubai, Shanghai and Hong Kong, and other financial centers around the globe can be pooled and put to use to build a factory in Uganda or a bridge in Bolivia or start a business in Indonesia. That has unleashed progress for people the world over. Jurisdictions like the BVI have been fundamental to that powerful surge. Without offshore jurisdictions, global capital will struggle to be put in good use outside of national borders. If capital from multiple nations is to come together for a common purpose, it must be able to incorporate. And that place of incorporation typically cannot be the nation of origin of any one of the investing parties. After all, many of the other investors from other countries may never sleep easy, knowing that their money was being held in a country whose laws they may not know, whose politicians they may not trust, and whose regulators they cannot rely on. Jurisdictions like the BVI have risen up over the past decades precisely because we solved that problem. We create a neutral space underpinned by strong regulatory rules and a world-class legal system where capital from all over the world can come together and be deployed for a common purpose. Even in the case of those obvious and compelling reasons for globalization, there's a swelling tide towards protectionism. So where's the world headed, and where must we be? We're heading towards new paradigms such as Brexit. The long-term consequences of Brexit are still to be played out, but clearly there have been global impacts on the markets, as the UK, one with previously stabilizing forces within those markets, seeks a new path outside the EU and its currency weakness. The Brexit result, and even a US presidential election campaign, demonstrate a clear change of attitude by voters and civil society in the West, especially when it comes to multinational companies paying tax. The attack on so-called elites has led to urgent instructions being given to international standard setters to address such matters head-on. This has had a clear knock-on effect into other areas, including the ability of high-net-worth individuals to manage their affairs legitimately, while at the same time respecting privacy wherever they are based. The voices that we hear today, louder than ever, calling for nations to turn inward, to cut themselves off from the world, to shun those who are not like them. They are wrong, and they stand on the wrong side of history. The problems of our world will not be solved by people severing the ties that bind. We will not uplift the poor by destroying the ability of investors to create wealth. We must work together, not tear each other apart. We must unite in common cause to create a global economy and global community in which opportunity, prosperity, and dignity are broadly shared, and where corruption, terror, and criminality are rooted out. Only together will we create that better, a more just world we seek. This area is a true test of our collective resolve. We're also headed towards new global policies and global regulation. As businesses struggle to adapt, there's also faced a slew of new regulations as international fiscal policy has come under focus as never before. The work that the OECD is undertaking in this area, and in particular the base erosion and profit shifting programs, reflect this. We have been watching the development of this program closely, and in December we'll host a meeting of the OECD together with our colleagues in the Cayman Islands and Bermuda to assess more fully the potential impact. Our sense at this stage is that it will be minimal given the type of business that the BVI supports. Nevertheless, as always, we will play a part as a fully active member of the international financial community and ensure that our voice and those of our clients is heard. I'll now touch briefly on another key challenge which BVI has surmounted, the Panama Papers. From the beginning of the Panama Papers frenzy to its end, the BVI worked with the world's top-tier media to ensure that our side of the story was told. The BVI operates in a legal and transparent manner in compliance with all relevant international regulations. This effort was difficult to say the least. Preconceptions, particularly among journalists, die hard. While this period did present some challenges for the BVI, it also poses broader questions about the way the global financial system operates. What I can tell you is that we are committed to actively supporting the development of a global regulatory framework which is fit for purpose. We are currently engaged with the OECD, which is the international standard setter, as well as the European Commission. Also, the very journalists themselves have noted that offshore centers were quite, quote-unquote, perfectly legal. Notwithstanding, the Panama Papers served a useful purpose as an impetus towards greater transparency. This is an area where BVI has taken global leadership as in the exchange of beneficial ownership information. Our proposal for a workable solution for global standards for beneficial ownership balances the need for both appropriate levels of privacy and transparency. It is focused on three key pillars: data security, appropriate legal constraints, and the principle that any new standard must be applied globally to enable a level playing field. As all of you know, a world-class global financial services jurisdiction can only succeed if its regulatory framework meets the requirement of international standard setters. We are committed to supporting the development of a global regulatory framework that is fit for purpose. However, I want to reassure you that we respect the need that many BVI clients have for privacy. The debate on beneficial ownership and our part within it is a clear demonstration of our approach. We have noted the calls for public registers of beneficial ownership, and we have said no to public registers. Our belief is that our own systems are strong and work well. As you will all know, to register a company in BVI, you must have a registered agent. That agent must be licensed by the regulatory authority and must undertake due diligence so that they are aware of who the beneficial owner of the company is. Whilst we contend that the system that we currently have in place are effective, we recognized that new standards are emerging, and as such, we're improving our mechanisms for sharing information with competent authorities and for cooperating in mutual legal assistance matters. At the same time, we also firmly believe that it's equally important to give you and your clients the assurance that we will vigorously guard our systems to ensure the highest levels of security are maintained and to safeguard the levels of privacy and confidentiality that clients value in BVI structures. It is our intention to continue to engage with influencers in this area. This will include Her Majesty's government, the media, especially in the UK, as well as wider political stakeholders and civil society. I'd like to summarize a number of other initiatives in progress that also set the BVI apart from its competitors, all of which positively affect individuals and companies in China and in the rest of Asia seeking to make use of BVI services and products. BVI companies worldwide continue to command a large market share, with almost 500,000 being active. The reasons for their popularity include security of assets, ease of operation, and maintenance and control facilitated by flexible corporate features. BVI continues to be a convenient staging post for outbound investments because aside from its flexibility and legal certainty in using the product, it is also an acceptable investment vehicle because all parties are familiar and comfortable with it. The BVI has for many years had one of the most innovative and efficient system of incorporating companies, Virgin, and is a global leader in this regard. Incorporations can take place within 1 or 2 days, and Virgin filing procedures have been recently streamlined even further. Virgin Lite was launched early this year to allow users located in Hong Kong to have external access to the online registry system from outside the BVI. Among the services, certificates of good standing and certificates of incorporation can now be collected at the offices in Hong Kong. Of course, there are always growing pains and kinks to work out, as many we have experienced with the Register of Directors. But we continue to improve, reassess, upgrade, and make adjustments whenever necessary. A year ago, we launched the BVI Forward campaign, a far-reaching set of initiatives aimed at further strengthening the financial services sector and building greater awareness of the benefits derived from it. The BVI Forward introduces a new series of benefit clients. This initiative evolved from an in-depth study of the territory's financial services sector, which was commissioned by the government in 2014 and facilitated by a global consultancy firm, McKinsey & Company. The study involved detailed interaction with the public and private sector in the BVI and internationally, and included benchmarking from other leading offshore financial centers. One of our key initiatives of the program is to attract more value-added services into the BVI. We wish to pursue areas such as small corporate headquarters and family offices, e-commerce, green tech, maritime operations, etc. Ultimately, we wish BVI to be a more substance-based economy. To support this, we have reviewed our immigration and labor laws to create greater efficiency in processes, as well as facilitate streamlined entry of business visitors and qualified investors. We expect to implement those changes in 2017. Similarly, my government has recently approved the development of an investment policy to encourage greater investment in the territory. We are moving to best practice in the development and promotion of financial services with the creation of BVI Finance Limited as an independent private sector organization. The BVI has also introduced a new limited partnership bill that provides customized legislation for the formation and operation of limited partnerships. The bill, which will become law in early 2017, will introduce a modern, up-to-date, and business-friendly approach to limited partnerships. The BVI is constantly evolving to remain best in class in the provision of global financial services. As many of you know, the ability of the BVI to support in the area of legal disputes was significantly advanced in 2009 when the commercial division of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court was established in the BVI. I commit to you that the BVI will continue to strengthen our commercial code system to ensure that it deals with matters expeditiously, economically, proportionately, and in a timely fashion. I'm pleased to announce that to further augment this offer, a new international arbitration center is soon to become fully operational. This has been established to provide essential dispute resolution services on behalf of parties that choose to settle their disputes through arbitration in the BVI. As conversations within the international standard-setting bodies develop, we'll keep you informed on our position. However, I recognize that there's one issue closer to home, which is that of correspondent banking and the difficulty of opening and maintaining accounts for BVI companies. I should say first that this is not only impacting the BVI, but the whole of the Caribbean, and there are some signs of contagion even beyond the Caribbean. As a result, the matter has been taken up by Caribbean leaders at the regional body of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM. A step forward was recently taken by the United States Office of the Control of Currency, who has now issued guidelines to try to correct this tendency, which stresses that de-risking should be undertaken on a case-by-case basis and not any wider. The IMF has also issued statements recognizing that the tendency could create a major destabilization for the global financial system. Also noting another hopeful sign that the Hong Kong Monetary Authority issued a circular last month acknowledging the difficulties small and middle-sized businesses have in opening bank accounts in SAR, and pledging that it will be seeking to make the process easier while maintaining high regulatory standards. It is hoped that these movements will have a positive effect. However, in a fast-moving business environment, neither the BVI nor its clients can afford to wait. I'm therefore delighted to support the launch of the new Bank of Asia in BVI. The bank will be launched early in the new year with the most advanced cutting-edge technology and will be dedicated to filling a substantial market to the benefit of the BVI and incorporated business companies. I believe the Bank of Asia will play a key role in the development of a new global financial infrastructure, in parallel with China's building of roads, railways, and logistical support. You'll be hearing more about this and more about the Bank of Asia later in this conference. China is already creating offshore trading hub for RMB as an initial step towards internationalizing its currency. In Latin America and the Caribbean, there's a lot of Chinese business activity. On the logistics side, there's a new canal being constructed in Central America, deep water and port development in Trinidad and Tobago and Brazil, and airport construction in Antigua. Commerce goes hand in hand with finance, so the need for banking infrastructure will undoubtedly grow in importance. In tandem with the growth of the PRC, there's a long-term retrenchment by Western financial institutions. They are risk-averse, have weak balance sheets, and are hampered by cumbersome regulations. Many see this decline accelerating in coming years. And this is where the Bank of Asia can step in and play an important role. We in the BVI have been proactive, moving out into the world to help reshape business and finance, rather than sitting on our island and letting business come to us. This is why we established an office here in Hong Kong, to allow us to be more responsive and deal with issues in real time, and why we continue to engage with you on every turn. As the BVI and its business offer has evolved, we have in turn observed China's own plans, and in particular the development of the long-term Go Global strategy, including the One Belt, One Road initiative, and the plan that run alongside it. While the program is of significant scale, we believe that there are many ways in which the BVI can be a partner. For example, in 2000 alone, BVI companies enabled the investment of $82.5 billion into emerging market economies. I believe that speaks to the scale of expertise and skills we have in the BVI who can assist you. And it's my very firm thought that through this visit and the conversation that flow from it, we can demonstrate how we can best support you in the future. The BVI remains a gold standard in easy to use, easy to maintain IBCs, and is at the forefront of regulatory compliance with the OECD, the FATF, and other global standard setters. Just as the BVI has been instrumental in FDI flows into China, assisting that country to become the most prominent market globally, the next decade or two will see the BVI work with the PRC as FDI flows reverse. China has already overtaken the US as the largest source of global M&A. This evening, I will be traveling to Beijing, and later we'll be going to the other Chinese cities of Tianjin, where we'll be signing an MOU, then to Hangzhou, and finally to Shanghai. Our message on this mission is simple and clear. The BVI-China partnership has been one of success over the last quarter century. And today we are ready to take that success to the next level as a partner of the Go Global strategy. Finally, I note that one of the 5 major goals of the One Belt, One Road policy is the creation and enhancing of people-to-people bonds. I believe that in our relationship with you, we clearly demonstrate the benefits that such bonds can bring to the enduring friendship between our two countries, and I hope that through events such as today, those bonds will only deepen. BVI continues to be one of the world's leading financial centers. I will continue to be so for the foreseeable future. In partnership with industry, we remain focused on what matters most, creating value for all industry stakeholders, including businesses, investors, service providers, and the people of the BVI. That has been a recipe for success for decades, and nothing that has occurred will change that. We have seen controversy come and go in the past. We will see it again. And always we endure by remaining fixed on the fundamentals. That is how we serve not only those we represent, but the many who benefit from our industry throughout the world. I leave you with the hope that as we stand today at the crossroads of protectionism, we'll all heed the call of the G20 leaders and follow China's leadership in going global, embracing globalization and the potential it offers for more progress and a world economy that truly works for everyone. BVI remains poised to help you. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to today's conference. Thank you.